The rain fell hard that night, like the sky itself was crying for mercy. A small barefoot boy stood in the middle of the road, his tiny frame drenched, his eyes wide and trembling, not from the cold, but from something far deeper. He raised his little hands as the rumble of engines grew louder, 5 massive bikers cutting through the storm on roaring machines. The boy didn't run. He didn't hide. He stepped forward, blocking their path, tears streaming down his muddy cheeks. And when the leader of the gang stopped just inches away, the boy whispered words that silenced even the thunder around them. "Please, kill my stepdad." Before we go deeper into this heart-wrenching story, please take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe to our channel, Kindness Speaks. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the power of standing up for what's right, your support helps us bring more real stories that touch hearts around the world. The leader of the bikers, a man called Hawk, turned off his engine, his face hidden behind a rain-soaked bandana. The boy, no older than 9, stood trembling, clutching a torn backpack against his chest. His clothes were ripped, one sleeve half burned. He looked like he hadn't eaten in days. The storm flashed lightning over his face, bruises around his eyes, a swollen lip, and old scars down his arm. Hawk stepped off his bike and crouched to his level. "What did you just say, kid?" But the boy didn't flinch. His voice cracked, but his words were steady, filled with pain no child should ever carry. "He hurts my mom every day. He hurts me too, please. Just stop him, please." Hawk froze. Behind him, the rest of his gang, men hardened by years of road, jail, and regret, stood in stunned silence. This wasn't a kid asking for food. This wasn't a runaway. This was something darker. Something desperate. Hawk's gaze softened as he took off his helmet. His own childhood had been no fairy tale, but seeing this child's trembling form reignited memories he'd buried for decades. "Where's your mom, son?" Hawk asked quietly. The boy looked toward a dim house on the hill, one window glowing faintly. "She's inside. He's hurting her right now." Without another word, Hawk grabbed his jacket, gave his brothers a look they all understood, and began walking up that muddy path. The sound of thunder mixed with the heavy thud of biker boots as they made their way to the small wooden house. The boy followed, clutching his backpack tighter. He whispered, "His name is Carl. He drinks all the time. He says we're worthless." Hawk didn't answer, but inside, something was burning, a rage not for revenge, but for justice long overdue. As they reached the porch, the sound of shouting and glass breaking erupted from inside. A woman's cry pierced the rain. Hawk's jaw tightened. With one kick, the door flew open. Inside, the small living room was chaos. Furniture overturned, bottles shattered, and a man in his 40s stood in the middle, gripping a belt in one hand and a bottle in the other. The woman, thin, pale, her face bruised, was shielding herself near the sofa. The man turned and raged at the sight of strangers. "Who the hell?" he began. But before he could finish, Hawk stepped forward, his voice calm but commanding. "You need to stop." For a moment, time froze. The man laughed mockingly, thinking he could scare them off. But the look in Hawk's eyes told him he'd made a grave mistake. One of the bikers took the boy's hand, gently guiding him behind them. Hawk didn't throw a punch. He didn't yell. He simply walked toward the man and said, "You ever hit her or that boy again, I'll make sure you can't raise your hand at anyone, ever." The room was thick with tension. The man tried to fight back, but the bikers didn't let him. They disarmed him, pinned him down, and made sure he understood one thing. He had no power left in that house. When it was over, the woman collapsed into tears. The boy ran to her, holding her face in his small hands. "It's okay, Mom," he whispered, his voice trembling. "They're not going to hurt us anymore." Hawk stood silently by the door, rain dripping from his jacket, watching a mother and child cling to each other like they hadn't in years. It was a sight that broke him and healed him at the same time. Over the next few hours, the bikers fixed the broken door, cleaned the mess, and called a social worker Hawk knew from his old life, someone who helped families escape abuse. They made sure the boy and his mother would be taken somewhere safe. Hawk gave the boy his leather jacket, too big for him, but warm. "Keep this," he said softly. "It's for brave men only, and you've earned it." The boy looked up at him with wide eyes, a faint smile breaking through the pain. "Thank you," he whispered. Days passed, then weeks. The mother and son were moved to a safe shelter, started new lives far from the darkness that had haunted them. Hawk and his gang went back to the road, but they couldn't forget that night. One evening, months later, Hawk got a letter. It was from the boy. Inside was a small photo, him and his mom, smiling for the first time in years, and a note written in shaky handwriting. "You saved our lives. I don't want you to kill anyone anymore. You gave me hope instead. Thank you for showing me that not all strong men hurt people. Some protect them." Hawk read that note under the sunset, tears welling in his eyes. He'd been a fighter, a drifter, a man haunted by his past. But in that moment he realized something powerful, that maybe his purpose was not destruction but redemption. That little boy hadn't just asked for help. He'd unknowingly saved a man who'd long forgotten what it meant to care. Months turned into years. Hawk's biker gang slowly transformed into something new. They called themselves the Road Guardians, men who used to be outlaws, now protecting those who couldn't protect themselves. They helped women escape abusive homes, found lost kids, delivered food to struggling families. And every time Hawk looked at the photo of that little boy, he remembered the night that changed everything. The night a small voice in the rain asked for death but found hope instead. One rainy evening, 5 years later, as Hawk was helping a young woman fix her broken car on a lonely highway, a young man on a small bike pulled up behind him. He took off his helmet, revealing the same deep eyes Hawk remembered. It was him, the boy, now a teenager, stronger, smiling. "I told you I'd be brave someday," the boy said softly. Hawk couldn't speak for a moment. He just smiled, placed a hand on his shoulder, and said, "You already were, kid."